I'm filling my 4-packs, pressing the soil down, and adding just a little bit of water. These seeds, some of them are so tiny, they're almost invisible. And my soil's just a little more dry than I'd like it to be. And some of these seeds need light to germinate. And I'll have to look at the back of each packet to determine how deep they need to be planted and whether they need light or not. So some of them will say barely cover. So I'll just put the tiniest little sprinkle of soil on. So my prairie smoke, I'm going to open that up. I've got a double layer of coffee filter in here. So I set the seeds on one, set another one on top to kind of sandwich it in there. And now I'll peel it away. And there is a little bit of mold in this one. And that's part of the hard part of cold stratification is there's a very fine line between having it moist and having it mold. It does look like some of these have broken the seed coat just a little bit. So I'm just going to take and very gently kind of flick these down into my cells. I think I had probably around 25 seeds of the prairie smoke. Some of these were so small that I couldn't count them, so I just put the little sprinkle that I could. And then there's some more on this side. They're kind of stuck to the paper towel. I don't know, these don't look great, so fingers crossed that they're gonna germinate. I'll also be going out into that pasture once it warms up and see if I can find my own prairie smoke and flag it better. There we go. That one's done. Here's the great blue lobelia. And this one, those seeds are nearly invisible. You can hardly see them. So I'm just gently using my finger to kind of brush them down into these cells. I have no idea where they're landing. They're so small. And this is one of the challenges of starting some of these native perennials, is that the seeds are just so small that they're hard to deal with. So I'm trying to kind of work amongst all 4 cells here and try and make sure that I'm getting some in each. Hopefully some of them germinate. And again, some of these seeds will go out into my garden and some will go into the butterfly garden. So both of these seed packs say plant no deeper than the width of the seed, and you saw how tiny that seed was. So I'm going to take the very tiniest sprinkle and just sprinkle it on there. And if there's anything that's kind of big or clumpy, like this little clump right here, I'm going to remove that and add the tiniest little sprinkle back again. This is so tiny. I will be putting a dome on this to help with the germination and hope that it maintains the moisture in the cells so that they don't dry out. There we go. That's all I'm putting on. Let's do milkweed. It's a lot easier. This is rose milkweed. Looks like there might be a little mold on this one. Well, looks okay. These are a kind of a smaller milkweed. Some of the milkweeds are really big. And I'm just going to really kind of generously divide these into the 4 cells. This is a lot of seed for 4 cells, but I just don't have room for 52 flats of native wildflowers with all the tomatoes and peppers I have going on. And I know I can grow tomatoes and peppers, so this is kind of new to me. I'm finishing up the showy milkweed And these seeds are quite a little bigger than some of the other milkweeds. Now, I've checked the packets on these milkweeds that I'm working on right now. I have several different ones. Showy, Prairie, Rose, World, and Butterfly Weed, which is also a milkweed. And the packets all say plant no deeper than the width of the seed. Now, if you think about that, it makes sense because milkweed that blows away in the wind, it's going to land somewhere and it's not going to, be necessarily covered. So I'm going to put a slight sprinkle, just a small sprinkle. I have started milkweed seeds from ones that I saved out in the pasture. And I did common milkweed and oval leaf milkweed and was moderately successful with those. I'm trying to be a lot more careful with these, although if you look at these seed packs here, Prairie Moon is really generous with the amount of seeds in some of their seed packs. Some of these have like 500 seeds in them. So in my case, I'm not too worried about 50% germination or whatever. There. And having watered the soil, I'm not going to water this again. I'm just going to leave it just like that. Do this world. This world milkweed is quite a little smaller, so I'll put a little less soil on top. But that soil on top does help with the moisture level to help protect them. Now, I'm also having to work fairly quickly here to get these planted because this paper towel is drying out, or this coffee filter is drying out quite quickly. And so I want to get these in the soil and get a dome on them before they start to dry out and potentially die. This is large flowered beard tongue. And as I open it up, I have quite a few that have already germinated. Look at that. There's quite a few of them in there. So again, I'll take in gently. This side has 3 or 4. Oop. Okay, so I probably should have changed my process a little bit here and not put the pots in the tray until I had them planted, because now I'm at risk of planting something in a cell that I didn't mean to plant in. But I can use some pretty good plant identification skills and figure out what's what. And what I'm going to do here is, again, scrape these seeds down in, and then I'll take the ones that have already sprouted and I'll try and make sure that those are divided evenly amongst the 4 cells. There's a lot of seeds in here. I have a feeling I'm going to have to do a lot of transplanting on this one, because these seem to be germinating really well. So as you do this, there's 2 seeds stuck together here. As you do this, you got to be really careful. Make sure you don't break that radical off. The radical is the start of the root. Well, it really is the root. And it's the first thing to emerge. So that's the radical. I'm holding the little seed coat in my hand. And if you break that off, then your seed is dead. It's not going to come back. The leaves haven't emerged yet. They're still stuck inside that seed coat. And they should be out, I would think, given the state of these, I'd think they'd be out in just a couple days. So we're going to put a little more soil on these because of those radicals that are already out. It's just the tiniest little bit though, still. We'll cover with the humidity dome, and we'll put them under the lights because it says they need light to germinate. So we will put them under the lights, and we'll watch and see what happens. Fingers crossed.